Now we're gonna talk about everything that you need to know about Mbuna so you're super successful with those beautiful, colorful fish. So this video is going to be for a beginner that want to start a Mbuna tank and never kept African cichlid before, or people that have been keeping African cichlid and haven't tried Mbuna yet, or maybe you have kept American cichlids and you don't really know what you're getting into. So let's get to it. So the word Mbuna means rock dwelling. So you need to have lots of cave and space for them to hide. Those are aggressive fish. There's actually, like, depending on the species, all the Mbuna are going to be aggressive, but depending on the species you might have some that are less aggressive, moderate aggressive, and highly aggressive. So it's good to do some research about the species you're going to keep. Mbuna come in tons of different color. They're from Lake Malawi. pH is 8. The temperature of the tank should be kept in between 76 and 80 degrees. If you have some issue with icks or something like that, those fish have no problem raising the temperature to 86 for a week or two. Pseudotrophus ACI yellowtail is one of the only Mbuna that is going to be schooling. I believe that the other ACI might be schooling too, but this one in particular is schooling. So if you keep them in group of 6 or more, you'll see that they're laying out a lot together. Here we can see a female that actually is holding fries in their mouth right now. So she'll keep them in there and protect them, and even if they start coming out, if she sees that it's dangerous, she'll bring them back in her mouth for a little bit. During that time, the Mbuna don't heat. Another thing to know about those Mbuna, it's that they're actually vegetarian. Some species are omnivore, but the best bet is, like, keep a veggie diet and then you won't have no problem. Trouble with the fish is they're always going to be begging for food, and if you're a beginner, you're probably going to end up overfeeding a little bit at the beginning, just because it's nice to see them coming to the glass and interacting with you. And if it happened that you overfeed anything else than a veggie diet, those will get the Malawi Bloat and your fish will pass. Malawi Bloat is when the fish actually get a kind of like a blockage in their intestine, and they will end up like getting a bigger and bigger belly, and they'll succumb to this. One thing to help with that, if that ever happens to you, is a little bit of Epsom salt in the tank and raise the temperature a little bit to try to get the blockage to move. If not, you might need some medicine if it's too late. The minimum tank requirement for Mbuna would be at least a 40-gallon. This is a smaller species of Mbuna. They're called Pseudotrophus soci. Those only grow up to 4 inch. But if you look down here at those Pseudotrophus ACI, those can grow all the way to 8 inch. So they will need a tank that is way bigger than this. 4-foot tank would be the best, at least for those fish. And then, contrary to the tropical fish, where people recommend to have like 1 inch of fish per gallon of water, with the Mbuna, it's better to have more fish than that. I recommend actually to have like one fish per 2 gallons of water, which could end up being a lot of fish, right? Like 20 fish in a 40 gallon or something like that. Like, of course, if you go with the ACI, which are bigger, then you might want to have a little bit less than that, but plus they need a little more space to swim. But because they're rock dwelling, they're not free swimming fish. They like to hang out like closer to the rock and kind of make a territory, contrary to the haps and peacocks, which would like to have a tank that's set up more with open free swimming space. So those would need more decoration for the Mbuna. For decoration, you can use rocks or a PVC pipe or any decoration you would find at the fish store. If you use rocks, you don't have to worry too much most of the time. Like, people test it with vinegar to see if they're alkaline. That would raise the pH, which Mbuna likes the pH at 8 or higher anyway, so it doesn't matter if the rock is alkaline. The only thing I would watch for is make sure that it's not a rock that have lots of metal in it, and you know, make sure that there's no rust line on it or anything like that, because you don't want that to leach into your water. But other than that, you can pretty much use like most rock you will find in your garden or on the side of the road when they're doing construction or something like that. Bristlenose pleco actually a good tank mate for the Mbuna. Usually they hang out at the bottom or in the cave, and the Mbuna don't see them as a threat, so they will not attack them or do anything. Another good tank mate for them would be the Petricola catfish or Lucipini. They also don't see them as a threat, and those are beautiful looking fish that will have fun all over your tank. If you're not going to have a huge tank that is 6 foot or more, I would recommend that you keep the Mbuna by yourself. Well, I mean, don't mix them with peacocks and haps, which need a bigger free swimming place. And also never mix the African cichlids with the American cichlids. They completely need different diet and different water parameter. This is not a good idea. It might work at short term, but long term it'll end up being causing lots of death in your tank. Mbuna actually are algae grazers, and if you have algae grazer, that means that they pretty much munch on stuff all day. They eat lots of food, they poop a lot, so I recommend actually overfiltration for your tank. You should at least double the filtration recommended for your tank. I like to do about you look at what the filter is rated for, so you know, if it's like a 75 gallon, well, actually go by the gallon per hour, and you want it to minimum be 2 times the size of your tank. So, but you know, like personally, I go way bigger than this. Like on a 40 gallon, like this one for example, I have a Sea Chantilly 110, so it's rated for 110 gallon. But at full flow, fish are happy, and the bottom of the tank is not too dirty, right? Looks pretty good, and it's been a few days since I cleaned it. So yeah. For the species that are extremely aggressive, that I don't recommend for beginner if you're first getting into the Mbuna, I don't have any here to show you, and I don't have any right for any of the pictures about them, but I would stay away from the Melatochromis horatus, also called a golden Mbuna, and any of the Mitraliclama. They have the Meltrama, red zebra, or the Maison Reef. Those are extremely aggressive fish. They're more muscly and bigger than some of the other Mbuna, and if your tank is not overstocked or big enough, you're going to have lots of trouble with that. So with Mbuna, you should always overstock your tank, because overstocking your tank is gonna make it so that when the fish guard their territory, you will have enough fish so they don't single out one fish and keep attacking the same one over and over again. Actually, they'll protect their territory. One fish is gonna swim by, they'll chase him for a couple seconds, and then another fish is gonna swim by, so they'll have to go back to chase that other one too. And they'll do that all day, so the fish that's actually protecting your territory never have time to actually attack and hurt another fish. So there's the trick for keeping Mbuna. Overstock your tank. The easiest way to start setting up your tank with your Mbuna when you're ready to put fish in there is to actually put a minimum of 10 to 12 to start. And then if you need more in there, I would add 6 at the time. Adding 6 at the time prevent the one fish getting singled out, because they're in a new one and the tank is already have already their territory set up. Those fish, even though when they're small, you can see they're still chasing each other a little bit, and those are just like 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch fish. They're already setting up territory very early, so it's always better, even if you start with smaller fish, to add more at the time. Now, adding fish when they're adult or bigger is still doable. One thing that can help too is to move the decoration around before you add the new fish, and if you can, turn off the light or cover the tank a little bit for the first few hours after you add the fish, which let your new fish have time to explore the tank a little bit without being like, you know, here I am, like everybody come and meet me all at once, right? Those fish like to swift sand, and it actually helped them a lot with lots of different things. So sand substrate is recommended. They will actually swift through the sand to look for food, but they're also using the sand to rub against if they need to scratch their side a little bit. And the other thing that they're using the sand too is making nests. So they'll dig up a spot into the sand where the female can deposit the eggs so they don't roll around when they're breeding together. And the other thing that they're using the sand for is to clean their gills. So they'll actually absorb some sand into their mouth and then swift the sand and get it out through their gills, and that will keep their gills nice and clean. So, you know, they can only do that with some nice fine sand. If you don't have sand in your tank, they still are going to be okay, but they won't thrive as much as if you have a nice sand substrate in there. So that's it for now. I hope you liked the video, and watch my other video if you're interested. There's some fish species video, there's also some equipment video, like all aquarium related. I try to keep that channel now only aquarium related. Yeah, I started a couple more channels to clean stuff up a little bit out of this one. And yeah, hopefully you find lots of information that's useful to you. There's some information for beginner, there's some tricks, you name it. I try to show you and share a little bit of everything with you guys to help you be successful in this hobby. Alright, cheers guys.